In the heart of a forgotten village called Umudike, nestled deep within a vast forest, there flowed a river known as Ogbunike. The villagers revered it for its crystal-clear waters, its vibrant fish, and the fertile soil it nourished along its banks. The river was the lifeblood of Umudike, providing sustenance and prosperity to all who lived nearby. However, beneath its serene surface lay a mystery that no one dared to explore. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the river began to whisper, soft, chilling murmurs that sent shivers down the spines of those who listened. The villagers believed the river was alive, its voice a warning of something lurking within. Young Obina, a curious and brave soul, was different from the others. While his friends trembled at the sound, Obina felt an inexplicable pull towards the river. He often stood by its banks, peering into the depths, wondering what secrets it held. His mother, Ijoma, had warned him never to go near the river after dusk, but his curiosity only grew stronger with each passing day. He was convinced that the river held answers to questions no one else dared to ask. What was the source of the whispers? And why did they only begin when the day ended? Obina's curiosity was fueled by stories he overheard from the elders, tales of times long past when the river was said to be a gateway to another realm, a place where spirits dwelled. These stories were always told in hushed tones, as if speaking too loudly might summon the river's wrath. But to Obina, these tales were not just stories. They were clues to a mystery he was determined to solve. One fateful evening, as the village gathered for the annual festival of the harvest, a sudden commotion erupted. Chisholm, the village elder's son, had gone missing. His friends claimed they saw him near the river, but when they called out to him, he simply vanished, as if swallowed by the water itself. Panic spread through the village like wildfire. The elders gathered, their faces grave, whispering ancient tales of the river's dark past. Stories of people who had disappeared without a trace, taken by a shadow that dwelled within the waters. The disappearance of Chisholm shook the village to its core. The festival, once filled with laughter and joy, turned into a somber affair. Mothers clutched their children tightly, and the men of the village formed search parties, scouring the riverbanks for any sign of Chisholm. Obina's mind raced. Could the shadow be real? His heart pounded with fear and excitement. That night, while the village mourned Chisholm's loss, Obina made a decision that would change his life forever. He would uncover the truth behind the shadow in the river. He could not shake the feeling that Chisholm's disappearance was linked to the whispers that had haunted the village for generations. But he knew he could not do it alone. He would need the help of someone who understood the river better than anyone else. His grandmother, Neka. Neka was a woman of great wisdom, revered by all in Umudike. She was a keeper of ancient knowledge, a storyteller who knew the history of the village better than anyone. But Neka was also known for her silence when it came to the river. She rarely spoke of it, and when she did, her words were cryptic and filled with warning. Obina approached her cautiously, knowing that his grandmother did not take kindly to prying questions. Neka, he began hesitantly, what do you know about the shadow in the river? Neka's eyes, once filled with warmth, darkened at the mention of the shadow. She sighed deeply and motioned for Obina to sit beside her. The river, my child, is not just a river, she began in a low voice. It is a bridge between our world and the world of spirits. Long ago, our ancestors made a pact with the spirit that guards the river. In exchange for the river's blessings, we were to offer gifts, to show our respect and gratitude. But as time passed, the villagers forgot the pact. They took the river for granted, and in doing so, they angered the spirit. Obina listened intently, his heart pounding in his chest. But what about the shadow, Neka? What does it want? Neka's gaze fixed on the flickering fire before them. The shadow is the spirit's messenger, sent to remind us of our forgotten promises. It seeks what was promised long ago, an offering that has not been made for generations. If we do not fulfill the pact, the shadow will continue to take what it believes is owed. Obinna shivered at his grandmother's words. Is there a way to stop it, Neka? Neka placed a hand on Obinna's shoulder. There is a way, but it is dangerous. You must face the shadow, confront it, and restore the pact. But know this, Obinna. The river tests those who seek to change its course. You must be prepared for what lies ahead. As he moved deeper, the whispers became voices, distinct, mournful cries of lost souls. Obinna's heart raced, but he pressed on, his eyes scanning the water's surface for any sign of the shadow. The river seemed to come alive around him, the water swirling and churning as if reacting to his presence. The once familiar landscape became distorted, the trees bending and swaying in unnatural ways. Suddenly, a ripple appeared, followed by another. And then, without warning, a dark figure emerged from the depths. The shadow took shape before Obinna's eyes, rising from the water like a phantom. It had no defined form, shifting and twisting like smoke, yet its presence was undeniable. Obinna's lantern flickered, casting eerie reflections on the water. The shadow moved closer, and for the first time, Obinna saw its face. A face that was not of this world, with hollow eyes and a mouth that seemed to whisper the cries of the lost. Its gaze was piercing, as if it could see into the very depths of Obinna's soul. Obinna's instinct screamed at him to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot. The shadow reached out, its hand-like form stretching towards him. In that moment, Obinna understood the river's secret. The shadow was not just a creature, it was a guardian, a spirit bound to the river, forever searching for something, or someone. The air around him grew thick, heavy with the weight of forgotten promises. The shadow spoke, its voice a haunting melody that echoed in Obinna's mind. It told of an ancient pact between the village and the river, a promise long forgotten. The villagers had once offered gifts to the river, honoring the spirit that protected them. But over time, the offering ceased, and the shadow, feeling betrayed, began to take what it believed was owed, starting with those who dared to come too close. Obinna listened, his fear slowly turning to understanding. The shadow wasn't evil. It was simply fulfilling its duty. But the balance had been broken, and the river's wrath had grown uncontrollable. The shadow offered Obinna a choice: restore the ancient pact and save the village, or leave the river and its secret to claim more lives. The weight of the decision bore down on Obinna. He realized that the fate of the entire village rested on his shoulders. The shadow revealed that the river had once been a place of harmony, where the living and the spirit world coexisted in peace. But the river's power had been forgotten, its importance diminished as the villagers grew complacent. Determined to save his people, Obinna agreed to the shadow's terms. He returned to the village and, with the help of the elders, prepared a grand offering, a feast of the land's finest harvests, woven cloths, and sacred items passed down through generations. The villagers, though fearful, trusted Obinna and followed his lead. They gathered at the riverbank, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that they had neglected their duties for so long. As the offerings were placed at the river's edge, the water began to glow, a soft light emanating from its depths. The shadow appeared once more, but this time it was different, calmer, almost peaceful. It accepted the offerings, and with a final whisper, it sank back into the water, the river's surface returning to its calm, glassy state. The villagers watched in awe as the river's glow slowly faded, leaving behind a sense of tranquility that had not been felt in generations. The whispers that had once filled the night air were gone, replaced by a serene silence. Obinna felt a deep sense of relief, knowing that the shadow had accepted their offering. The village of Umudike was forever changed after that night. The river no longer whispered in the dark, and no one else went missing. Obinna was hailed as a hero, but he knew the true hero was the shadow in the river, the guardian who had watched over them all along. The villagers, now aware of the river's true nature, vowed never to forget the pact again. They established a yearly ceremony to honor the spirit of the river, ensuring that the offerings would continue for generations to come. And so, the tale of the shadow in the river was passed down through generations, a story of intrigue, suspense, and the enduring bond between a people and the land they called home. The river's whispers were no longer a source of fear, but a reminder of the delicate balance between the seen and the unseen, a balance that the villagers of Umudike vowed never to disturb again.